Eleanor Morgan had driven 2 hours after a grueling workday, her mind preoccupied with spreadsheets and budget reports. When her mother, Victoria, had called earlier that week, the invitation for a family dinner had seemed oddly insistent. "Made your favorite lasagna, sweetheart. We all miss you." A warmth had flickered in Eleanor's chest, a small hope that, for once, this dinner wouldn't turn into another subtle reminder of how different she was from the rest of her family. That maybe, just maybe tonight, would be about reconnecting. But as she sat at the polished mahogany table, the air thick with the scent of marinara and baked cheese, her younger brother Thomas leaned forward, his voice dripping with arrogance. "Just so we're clear, Eleanor, everything goes to us." The words landed like a slap, sucking the air from the room. She blinked, willing herself to have misheard. "I'm sorry, what?" Her voice was calm, too calm for the way her stomach had just dropped. Thomas smirked, his blue eyes glinting with satisfaction. Across from him, Olivia, her younger sister, twirled a lock of glossy blonde hair around one finger, a lazy smirk, tugging at her lips. The house, the lake cottage, all of it. Mom and Dad finalized the will. You're not included. Eleanor turned to her parents, seeking some kind of confirmation that this was a joke, that they hadn't called her here just to deliver a message like this. But Victoria's lips were set in a firm, defiant line, and Andrew, her father, couldn't even meet her gaze. The silence stretched painfully until, at last, he spoke. "Eleanor, you have to understand," he said carefully, folding his hands together. "You've done extremely well for yourself. Your mother and I are proud of what you've built. Thomas and Olivia, they still need support." A bitter laugh threatened to escape her lips. Support? For years, Eleanor had quietly shouldered the family's financial burdens, paying off their mortgage when her parents fell behind, covering Thomas's endless tuition changes, funding Olivia's failed business ventures. She had sacrificed vacations, relationships, and personal dreams, all under the belief that family looked after one another. Apparently, none of it counted for anything. "So, this is my reward," she said, her voice dangerously steady. "For 4 years of mortgage payments, for the tuition bills, the $30,000 I put into renovating that lake cottage last summer?" Victoria sighed dramatically, shaking her head. "This is exactly why we didn't want to tell you. You always bring it back to money. Eleanor." Heat surged into her cheeks, her fists clenching beneath the tablecloth. "It was always about family for me. Every sacrifice I made was because of family. Because you asked, Mom. Because you said family sticks together." Thomas scoffed, leaning back in his chair. "No one forced you to help. You just like playing the hero." Beside him, Olivia let out a soft laugh. "Maybe you thought if you threw enough money at us, Mom and Dad would finally love you as much as they love us." The cruelty of her words. Sliced deep, reopening wounds Eleanor had spent years pretending didn't exist. But the worst part? Their parents said nothing. No reprimand. No defense. Just silence. Their silence was louder than any words. For years she had been their safety net, their reliable fixer. And now they were discarding her like an empty ATM. She inhaled sharply, her resolve hardening. "You're right, Thomas." Eleanor forced her voice to remain even. "No one forced me. But from today onward, no one can guilt me into being this family's financial crutch either. I'm done." She pushed her chair back, the legs scraping harshly against the floor. For a second, the scent of marinara and garlic still lingered in the air, a cruel reminder of what she had foolishly hoped would be a comforting family evening. Instead, she had been ambushed, humiliated and discarded in the same home she had helped pay for. She grabbed her coat from the hallway, her mother calling after her. "Eleanor, don't be dramatic." She didn't look back. The front door swung shut behind her with a final, resounding thud. Outside, the cool Boston air hit her sharply, helping clear her mind. But her heart still ached with disbelief. Her own family had used her, discarded her, and left her feeling worthless. Climbing into her car, she gripped the steering wheel, her hands trembling. Then, with a quiet, deliberate movement, she pulled out her phone and opened her banking app. The screen blinked back at her. Recurring payments, parents, mortgage, 2,500 utility bills, 800 family support. What 200 with one decisive motion, she canceled them all. A quiet sense of defiance bubbled in her chest as the confirmation messages flashed on her screen. For the first time in years, Eleanor was free. As Eleanor drove away, her phone buzzed. A message from Olivia. "You'll regret this." She exhaled slowly, her grip tightening on the wheel. No, she wouldn't. Have you ever felt unappreciated for the sacrifices you made for your family? What would you do if you were in Eleanor's shoes? Comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to hear what happens next. Eleanor stared at the confirmation, messages on her phone, her heartbeat finally slowing to a steady rhythm. Payments canceled. For the first time in years, she wasn't paying for someone else's mistakes. The ride back to her high-rise apartment in downtown Boston was eerily silent. The city lights blurred past, but her mind replayed the dinner conversation obsessively. Every cruel smirk, every dismissive glance, every ounce of betrayal. Had she really been so blind all these years? Or had she willingly ignored the signs, desperate to believe that her family valued her for more than just financial security? By the time she reached her building, exhaustion pressed heavily against her chest, but beneath it, something new stirred. Relief. Inside, she set her purse down on the kitchen counter, pulled out a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon she had been saving for a special occasion, and poured herself a generous glass. Somehow, tonight's bitter lesson seemed fitting enough. She settled onto the couch, sipping slowly as she opened her banking app again. Her fingers hovered over the transaction history. For years, she had told herself that family was a duty, that if she didn't help them, who would? $2,500, mortgage $800, utilities $1,200, family support. Then came the one-time expenses, the ones she had quietly covered over the years, never expecting repayment. $18,000. Thomas's MBA tuition, when he dropped out halfway through and switched careers again. $30,000, lake house renovations. After Olivia convinced their parents to modernize it. $12,000, debt consolidation for Mom and Dad, which they immediately racked up again. It added up to over $215,000. Her breath hitched. She had sacrificed so much. She had worked through holidays, canceled vacations, stayed late at the office, all so they could live comfortably. And yet, they had looked her in the eye tonight and told her she wasn't family enough to be included in their future. But you always bring it back to money, Eleanor. Her mother's words echoed in her head, and a bitter laugh escaped her lips. It was always about money. For them, she had just been foolish enough to believe it wasn't. With a sharp inhale, she swiped to a different screen, her finger hovering over the recurring payments section, and one by one she canceled every last one of them. The weight that lifted from her chest was instant. For the first time in years, she wasn't bound by their endless expectations. She wasn't their safety net anymore. Her phone buzzed. Mom. Eleanor, I know you're upset, but we need to talk. Call me back. She ignored it. Another buzz. Olivia. WTF! Mortgage just bounced. What did you do? Eleanor took another sip of wine, leaning back against the couch. Her phone rang next. She let it go to voicemail. Another call, then another. Finally, her father left a message. Eleanor, this is your father. I need you to reconsider what you're doing. We raised you better than this. Family helps each other. She deleted it without listening to the rest. Then came Thomas's call. She let it go to voicemail, already knowing exactly how it would go. Sure enough, 30 seconds later, a text arrived. Thomas, you selfish bear. Do you know what you've done? You're going to ruin us. Eleanor exhaled, setting her phone down. She didn't owe them a response. She didn't owe them anything. For the first time, she felt free. Until... thud, thud, thud. A pounding at her front door made her jump. Her heart pounded as she stood, cautiously approaching the peephole. Through the glass, she saw Olivia standing there, arms crossed, her expression livid. Eleanor sighed, her hand resting on the doorknob. She already knew this conversation wouldn't go well, but she was done running. Taking a deep breath, she unlocked the door and opened it. What do you want, Olivia? Olivia pushes past Eleanor into the apartment, her eyes blazing. Fix this. Now. Eleanor folds her arms. Or what? Eleanor barely had time to react before Olivia shoved past her, stepping into the apartment uninvited. The sharp scent of expensive perfume and entitlement filled the air as her younger sister crossed her arms, eyes blazing. Fix this. Now. Eleanor inhaled deeply, closing the door behind her. Or what, Olivia? She said, voice steady despite the anger rising in her chest. Olivia scoffed. You're unbelievable. She spun around, gesturing dramatically. You really think cutting us off makes you the hero in this story? Eleanor arched a brow, crossing her arms. No, Olivia. I think it makes me sane. Her sister's green eyes flashed with irritation. You know damn well Mom and Dad can't afford those payments on their own. They're retired, Eleanor. You just left them to struggle. Oh, you mean the payments I've been secretly making for them for years? Eleanor cut in, voice sharp. The ones they never acknowledged. The ones you and Thomas benefited from while acting like you were entitled to them. Olivia's jaw tightened, but she didn't deny it. It's not my fault Mom and Dad trust me and Thomas more than you, she finally said, tilting her head in mock sympathy. Eleanor let out a bitter laugh. Trust you, she repeated. That's interesting, considering I'm the one who paid off Thomas's MBA when he dropped out. I'm the one who covered the mortgage when Dad was short on cash, and I'm the one who funded your so-called wellness business before you burned through every cent and shut it down. Olivia's smirk faltered for a split second. You, and yet somehow, Eleanor continued, stepping closer, I'm still the one being punished. Silence stretched between them, thick with tension. Then Olivia exhaled sharply, shaking her head. Fine, she said coolly. You made your point. But you know, Mom and Dad aren't going to let this go, and neither is Thomas. Eleanor frowned. What does that mean? Olivia hesitated. For the first time, she looked almost uncertain. Just be careful. And with that, she turned on her heel and left, slamming the door behind her. Eleanor stood there, heart pounding. Something about Olivia's warning felt off. The next day, Eleanor sat at her desk in her corner office, overlooking the Boston skyline. She had barely slept the night before, her mind replaying Olivia's words like a broken record. Mom and Dad aren't going to let this go. and neither is Thomas. What did that mean? Her phone vibrated. Incoming call. Daniel Harrison. She frowned before answering. Eleanor. Daniel's voice was tense. I thought you should know. Thomas just left our office. Eleanor's grip on the phone tightened. What? He showed up unannounced, telling everyone you're unstable. Her stomach dropped. Excuse me? He said you've been acting erratic, making poor financial decisions, that you might not be fit to keep your position. Rage burned through Eleanor's veins. And you believed him? Of course not, Daniel said quickly. But, Eleanor, he's talking to the board. He's trying to make it look like you're not mentally competent. Eleanor shot up from her chair, heart racing. He's trying to ruin me. Daniel sighed. I don't know what his endgame is, but you need to get ahead of this. Eleanor clenched her jaw. She had cut them off financially, and now they were trying to destroy her career. She would not let that happen. Eleanor storms out of her office, determination blazing in her eyes. She isn't just going to defend herself. She's going to fight back. Eleanor's heels clicked sharply against the marble floor as she stormed through the corporate headquarters of Harrison and Wells. Her brother thought he could destroy her career. He had no idea who he was up against. With a controlled inhale, she pushed open the frosted glass doors to the executive wing. I need a meeting with the board. Now. The assistant blinked, startled. Ms. Morgan, they're in a closed session. Then, unclose it, Eleanor said coolly. Or tell them they can expect to deal with my legal team instead. The assistant paled before quickly buzzing into the conference room. Moments later, the doors swung open. Eleanor strode inside to find 7 board members staring at her, and Thomas sitting smugly at the far end of the table. Ah, Eleanor, Thomas drawled, leaning back in his chair. What a surprise. Eleanor ignored him, addressing the board instead. I understand my brother has been making accusations about my mental state. I'd like to address them directly. The chairman, Mr. Langford, sighed, adjusting his glasses. Thomas claims you've been making reckless decisions and that your behavior is becoming erratic. Given your position as CFO, we have to investigate any concerns about financial stability. Eleanor's blood boiled. My behavior is erratic. Let's discuss Thomas's instead. She reached into her leather briefcase and placed a thick folder onto the table. Here are the financial records of every unauthorized withdrawal my brother has made from our parents' accounts in the past 5 years. Hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on failed investments, gambling, and... Oh, this one's a gem. A wire transfer to a luxury car dealership 3 weeks ago. Thomas's smirk vanished. Eleanor turned to the board. This is a man attempting to frame me as unfit, while financially exploiting our parents behind their backs. If anyone should be investigated, it's him. Murmurs rippled through the room as the board flipped through the evidence. Langford's expression darkened. Thomas, is this true? Thomas laughed hollowly, shaking his head. Oh, come on. Are we really going to take Eleanor's word over mine? Eleanor smiled icily. No need to take my word for it. She tapped her phone screen. A voice recording echoed. Through the room. Thomas bragging to Olivia just 2 nights ago. Once Eleanor's out, I'll have full control of Mom and Dad's assets. They won't even know what hit them. The silence was deafening. Thomas's face drained of color. Langford set the folder down. I think we've heard enough. Eleanor folded her arms. If my qualifications are in question, I expect Thomas's conduct to be scrutinized just as thoroughly. A heavy pause. Then, Langford nodded. We'll review this and get back to you. Eleanor. Thomas shot her a murderous glare as she turned to leave. But Eleanor wasn't done yet. As she reached the door, she glanced over her shoulder. "Oh, and Thomas." He looked up, still pale. "Next time you try to come for me, come prepared." She walked out, victorious. Later, that night, Eleanor sat in her apartment, sipping a glass of wine as she stared at the Boston skyline. Her phone buzzed. Incoming call. Mom. She let it go to voicemail. Seconds later, another notification flashed. Voicemail. Transcript. "Eleanor, what have you done? Your brother says you humiliated him in front of the board. You've taken this too far. We are your family." Delete. She had no more patience for their manipulation. Her family had thrown her to the wolves. What they didn't realize was she had learned how to hunt. Eleanor opens her laptop and begins drafting an official financial investigation request against Thomas. If he wanted war, he was about to get one. Eleanor woke to the sound of her phone buzzing relentlessly. She groggily reached for it, then saw the name on the screen. Daniel Harrison, her trusted colleague. A sharp jolt of awareness cleared the last remnants of sleep from her mind. "Daniel?" she answered, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. "Eleanor, you need to get to the office. Now!" Her heart clenched. "What happened?" Daniel hesitated. "It's Thomas. He's trying to spin this as a personal vendetta. He's telling the board you're the unstable one, and that you fabricated the financial documents." Eleanor sat up sharply, rage flashing through her. "He what?" "He's pulling every string he has left. You need to get here before they make any rash decisions." Eleanor was already moving, throwing on a sharp navy blazer as she grabbed her keys. "I'll be there in 15. "At the office!" The showdown, Eleanor stormed through the executive corridor, heels clicking with determination. This time, she didn't bother waiting for an invitation. She pushed open the boardroom doors to find Thomas already standing, gesturing wildly as he spoke. "She's always been jealous, always controlling. Now she's trying to sabotage me because she knows she's losing influence." 7 pairs of eyes turned to her as she stepped inside. Thomas smirked, but there was a flicker of nervousness in his eyes. "Ah, Eleanor. Finally decided to join us?" Eleanor ignored him, turning to Langford. "Mr. Langford, before this circus act continues, I have one question for you." Langford leaned forward. "Go ahead." Eleanor took out a USB drive and held it up. "Would you like to see the bank statements, email correspondence, and voice recordings, confirming that Thomas has been siphoning money from our parents for years? Because if we're discussing fraud, let's discuss his." The room went dead silent. Thomas paled. You're bluffing." Eleanor smiled. "Try me." Langford gestured for the drive. As he inserted it into the conference room screen, documents flashed onto the projector. Detailed records of unauthorized transactions, misappropriated funds, and even an email thread where Thomas blatantly instructed a financial advisor to move funds discreetly. Gasps echoed around the table. One board member whispered, "Jesus Christ." Langford turned to Thomas, his expression dark. "Mr. Morgan, do you have anything to say for yourself?" Thomas visibly swallowed. His arrogance cracked. "This is taken out of context." "Enough!" Langford's voice boomed. "Eleanor, please step outside while we deliberate." She nodded, casting one last glance at Thomas, who now looked like a trapped animal. Then she turned on her heel and walked out. A moment of reckoning. Eleanor paced the hallway outside, her mind racing. If Thomas had tried to smear her at work, what else had he planned? As she checked her phone, a new email popped up. From a law firm. Subject: formal legal action against Ms. Eleanor Morgan. Her stomach dropped. She clicked it open. Ms. Morgan, we represent the estate of Andrew and Victoria Morgan. It has come to our attention that you have been making defamatory claims against your family. If this continues, we will pursue legal action to protect our clients' reputations. Eleanor stared at the screen. They were actually threatening to sue her. Her own parents. The rage that surged inside her wasn't just anger. It was a breaking point. She had tried to handle things civilly. She had tried to walk away with dignity. But they had declared war. And Eleanor, she never lost a war. She took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and started typing a response. Eleanor finishes drafting a public legal response to her family's lawsuit. One that, if filed, would expose every single financial manipulation her family had orchestrated. As she presses send, her phone rings. Eleanor, it's Aunt Patricia. You need to hear this. I found something. Something that will change everything. Eleanor gripped her phone tightly. Patricia, what did you find? Her aunt's voice was urgent. It's about the will. You need to see this in person. Come to my house, now. Eleanor's pulse quickened. She had spent weeks fighting back, cutting ties, exposing deception, and reclaiming her life. But something about Patricia's tone told her this wasn't over yet. Not until she knew everything. Aunt Patricia's revelation! An hour later, Eleanor sat at Patricia's kitchen table staring at a thick folder. I don't understand. She flipped through old documents, letters, and bank statements, all tied to her family's estate. Patricia poured them both tea, then sat down, her face solemn. Your parents have been lying about the inheritance, Eleanor. It's not just about favoritism. Eleanor frowned. What do you mean? Patricia pushed forward a legal document, a revised will from 15 years ago. This was your grandfather's original will. He left the house, the lake cottage, and the family trust to you, not to Thomas or Olivia. Eleanor's breath hitched. What? Your parents changed everything after he passed. They altered the terms and kept it from you. But legally, you still have a claim. Eleanor felt nausea coil in her stomach. For years she had assumed the betrayal was just emotional. Favoritism, entitlement, manipulation. But this was outright theft. They took my inheritance? Patricia nodded. And they thought you'd never find out. Eleanor exhaled slowly, her mind racing. Her parents had rewritten history, painted her as the selfish one, expected her to pay their bills, fund their lives, and then walk away with nothing. Not anymore. Patricia, Eleanor said, her voice steely. I need a lawyer, a damn good one. The legal battle begins. Over the next few weeks, Eleanor built her case. She compiled financial records proving her years of financial contributions. She gathered witness statements from old family friends who knew her grandfather's wishes. She found a top-tier estate attorney, one who specialized in cases of fraudulent will revisions. Her parents and siblings, they had no idea what was coming, until they received the legal notice, a formal lawsuit, challenging the will and exposing their decades of deceit. The family's reaction, Victoria was the first to call. Furious. How dare you do this to your own family? She screeched. You're trying to take away our home. Eleanor leaned back in her chair, unfazed. No, Mother. I'm taking back what was always mine. You stole from me. Her father got on the line next, his voice shaking. Eleanor, please. We can fix this as a family. A family. Eleanor laughed bitterly. When was I ever treated like family? There was a long silence. Then Andrew whispered, We never thought you'd fight back. Eleanor closed her eyes for a moment. That's your mistake. The courtroom showdown. The trial was brutal. Her parents' lawyers tried to discredit her, painting her as a bitter, vengeful daughter. Thomas and Olivia played the victims, claiming they had been misled about the inheritance. But Eleanor's evidence was airtight, and when Patricia took the stand, revealing the truth about the altered will, the case was all but won. The judge's ruling. The original will was partially reinstated. Eleanor was awarded the lake cottage and a significant financial settlement. Thomas and Olivia received nothing extra, only what had legally belonged to them from the start. Her parents were forced to admit their deception publicly. It wasn't just about money, it was about justice, and for the first time in her life, Eleanor had finally won. The aftermath. Her family never recovered from the humiliation. Victoria and Andrew moved into a smaller house, struggling financially without Eleanor's support. Thomas lost credibility in the business world after his reputation was tarnished. Olivia faded into obscurity, no longer able to rely on family wealth. And Eleanor, she thrived. She sold the lake cottage and used the money to start a foundation for women facing financial manipulation from family. She traveled. She rebuilt her life. And one crisp autumn evening, standing on her balcony, watching the city lights flicker, she realized something. They had tried to steal her future, but in the end, they had set her free. Eleanor's journey is a powerful reminder that self-worth isn't measured by what you give, but by how you're treated. When loyalty is one-sided, walking away isn't losing. It's winning. She was never truly part of her family's plans, but by breaking free from their control, she gained something far greater than an inheritance. She gained herself. Have you ever felt taken for granted by family or at work? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments. Do you think Eleanor should have taken legal action or just walked away? Comment 2 if you support Eleanor's decision to cut them off. Comment 7 if you think she should have handled it differently. Like this video if you believe in standing up for yourself. Subscribe to Sophia's Revenge Stories for more incredible tales every week.